the central theme of linear algebra is actually how can we represent a linear transformation in a more simple way. So we know that the simplest matrices are actually the diagonal matrices, zero matrices, particularly zero matrix, then identity matrix, then diagonal matrices. The linear transformations is actually the study about matrices. So the question is, how can we represent a linear transformation so that how can we represent a linear transformation using matrices so that the resulting matrix is as simple as possible? So that question, the answer of that question leads to diagonalization. So I am not discussing vector spaces, basis, dimension, linear transformations, etc. I know that you are all familiar with these concepts. So let me start with change of coordinates. So let V be a vector space with a dimension. So in this lecture, we are taking the corresponding field as the field of real numbers. So you take a vector space V with a dimension n. So let V be a basis for V, any basis for V. Then we know that since V is a basis for V, each element in V has coordinates with respect to V, that basis. That is, so if you take V belongs to V, so if you take V belongs to V, we can represent V as linear combinations from using elements of V. So that is V is equal to, say, x1. So suppose the elements of B are beta 1, beta 2, etc., beta n, then V is equal to x1 beta 1 plus x2 beta 2 plus etc. plus xn beta n. So this x1, x2, the coordinates. So you see the x1, x2, etc., xn, that row matrix, so is called the coordinate of the vector V with respect to the basis B. So this is with respect to one basis B. So if we choose a new basis B dash for V, so we know that every vector space has a basis, and if V is of dimension n, so it has infinitely many bases. So if the corresponding field is R. So if you take a new basis B dash for V, and V dash, then the same vector V can be represented using elements of B dash. So the corresponding scalars, you list it as a vector, a row vector. So let V is equal to x1 dash, x2 dash, etc., xn dash with respect to B dash. So then the problem is to determine, so the change of coordinates problem is to determine how the new coordinates xi dash, so how this xi dash, so how this x1 dash is related to x1. So as a whole, so what is the relation between these x1 dash, x2 dash, etc., xn dash with x1, x2, etc., xn? So the problem is to determine how the new coordinates xi dash are related to the old coordinates xi. So suppose I am taking, so beta, so for simplicity, so we are taking the base, first basis B as u1, u2, etc., un, and the second basis B dash as u1 dash, u2 dash, etc., un dash. Then since these are coordinates of the same vector V, so V can be represented using B as x1 u1 plus etc. plus xn un, and using B dash as x1 u1 dash plus etc. plus xn un dash. Suppose for each j 1 less than or equal to j less than or equal to n, you take this u1 dash. In general, you take this an element from here, uj dash. So you take uj dash. This can be written as a linear combination of elements of B. Why? Because B is a basis for V, and each uj dash is also in V. Because this is a basis for V, the elements are from V, we are taking actually. So this uj dash is a linear combination of elements from u1, u2, of u1, u2, etc. un. So uj dash, let it be p1j u1, etc. plus pnj un. That is sigma I is equal to 1 to n pij ui. So that is uj dash. So what is the coordinates of uj dash with respect to b? That is, we are representing uj dash using elements of b. So using b. So the coordinates, by the definition of the coordinates of coordinate vector, uj dash is actually these scalars p1j, etc. pnj. So uj dash is p1j, p2j, etc. pnj with respect to b. So this n by n matrix, so corresponding to each j for 1 less than or equal to j less than or equal to n, you will get uj dash, and that is a row vector consisting of n elements. So the n by n matrix, so you will get an n by n matrix P, which is equal to Pij, and that matrix is called the transition matrix from the basis B to the basis B dash. So how we obtain the transition matrix? So we have two bases B, which is equal to, so we have two bases B, which is equal to u1, u2, etc. un, and another basis B dash, and that is equal to u1 dash, etc. un dash. So u1 dash, u2 dash, etc. un dash. Then the second coordinates. So you take the second basis, take an element from B dash, represent it as a linear combination of elements of B. So the corresponding coefficients will form an n by n matrix. This matrix is called the transition matrix from the basis B to the basis B dash. So what is the jth column of the transition matrix? So the jth column of the transition matrix P contains the coordinates of uj dash with respect to B. Why? Because we are taking, you see that, so for example u1 dash, so what is u1 dash? The coordinate matrix P11, P21, etc. Pn1. So that is actually, so if you take this matrix P, that is actually the first column of this transition matrix. So the jth column of the transition matrix P contains the coordinates of uj dash with respect to B. So the equation, so x1, so because these two are equal, because these are same representation of the vector V. So the equation x1 u1 plus etc. plus xn un is equal to x1 dash u1 dash plus etc. plus xn dash un dash becomes x1 u1 plus etc. plus xn un is equal to x1 dash. So what is u1 dash? Sigma I is equal to 1 to n pi1 ui plus etc. plus what xn dash into what is un dash? Sigma I is equal to 1 to n pin ui. So this implies x1 u1 plus etc. plus xn un is equal to, so you collect the terms containing u1. So if you collect the terms containing u1 and arranging properly, you will get the coefficient of u1 will be, so from here you will get this, what is the first term here? P11 u1 and 1 x1 dash is here. So that is the first term here, P11 x1 dash. From the second term, you will get the second term here in the sum. So the coefficient of u1 will be sigma I is equal to 1 to n pij xj dash u1 plus etc. plus sigma j is equal to 1 to n pnj xj dash un. So u1, u2, etc. un, and so this is a basis actually. So every vector has a unique linear combination. So what does it mean? So this becomes, so when you compare the terms, that means x1 is equal to sigma j is equal to 1 to n p1j xj dash, x2 is equal to this one. So this is x1. This is the coefficient here. So these two are equal. So x1, so you will get actually n equation. So in general, xi is equal to sigma j is equal to 1 to n pij xj dash. So and this implies x1, x2, etc. xn. So you write it as a column. So this implies x1, x2, etc. xn is equal to the matrix trans. So this is actually our transition matrix P. P into x1 dash, x2 dash, etc. xn dash. So that is x is equal to. So you write this vector as x. So what is this x actually? This is the coordinate matrix of V with respect to the first basis. and this is our transition matrix. And what is x dash? The coordinate matrix of the same vector v with respect to the basis b dash. So that is the product of the transition matrix P from B to B dash times the coordinates of a vector V with respect to B dash gives the coordinates of V with respect to B. So you see that this is the transition matrix from B to B dash. So how we obtain this transition matrix? You take the general jth element of the second basis, you write it as a linear combination of the using elements of B, then you will get the corresponding column matrix. So that is actually the jth column. So this x is equal to px dash, or the coordinate matrix of V with respect to B is equal to P into coordinate matrix of V with respect to B dash. So we can see this in the following example. So consider B is equal to, so we are discussing R2. So you take the vector space as R2. So B is equal to 2, 1, 1, 0. So these are linearly independent. So this becomes a basis for R2. So this is also a basis 0, 1, 1, 4. So 0, 1. So how can we obtain the transition matrix from B to B dash? So you take the first element 0, 1. Write it as a linear combination of elements of B. That is, you write, so you find C1, C2 such that 0, 1 is equal to C1 into 2, 1 plus C2 into 1, 0. So you solve the equation and you will get C1 as 1 and C2 as minus 2. So 0, 1 is 1 minus 2 with respect to B, and 1, 4 as the second one. 1, 4 as, you write 1, 4 as a linear combination of elements of B. So 1, 4 is equal to 4 minus 7 with respect to B. So what is the transition matrix from B to B dash? It is actually, so you are writing it as a column. So because you see that in the previous slide, the suffix are varying in the first coordinate actually. So this is actually this 1 minus 2 is the first column of our matrix. So 1 minus 2 and this is 4 minus. So this is our transition matrix. So transition matrices are very useful. Why? Because this can be seen in the following example. So the same vector space R2. Suppose B is equal to 3, 4 and 2, 2. So to find the coordinates of any vector with respect to B. So suppose this is the suppose we are taking our basis as the standard basis. Suppose our basis is standard basis 0, 1, 1, 0 and 0, 1 of R2. Then, so we are actually not bothered about the representation of a vector AB in R2, because this is actually the representation of AB using the standard bit, because AB is A into 1, 0 plus B into 0, 1. So the coordinate matrix of AB with respect to the standard basis is actually AB. So, but this is not much simple in other cases. So, for example, you are taking the basis as 3, 4 and 2, 2. So, we have to represent a vector in R2 using linear combination of 3, 4 and 2, 2. So, you have to find the coefficient. So, for this type of problems, so these transition matrices are very useful. So, how can we do that? So, find the coordinates of any vector with respect to B. So, let EI dash. So, so this is taken as the first basis. Let EI, that is 1, 0 and 0, 1, denotes the standard basis of R2. So rather than obtaining the coordinates of each vector separately, the transition matrix from B to EI, so this is our B dash, the transition matrix from B to EI can be used to obtain coordinates with respect to B. So in this case, EI is viewed as the new basis or the second basis, and the coordinates of EI with respect to B. So coordinates of EI with respect to B. So this is the second basis. So the first element of the second basis is E1. And what is E1? 1, 0. So you write 1, 0 as a linear combination of elements of B. So what is B? B is 3, 4, 2, 2. So you write 1, 0 as C1 into 3, 4 plus C2 into 2, 2. You will get C1 and C2 as minus 1 and 2. So 1, 0, the coordinate matrix of 1, 0 in the first basis is minus 1, 2, and take the second element of the second basis 0, 1, and similarly you can see that the coefficient matrix is coordinate matrix is 1 minus 3 by 2 with respect to the first basis. So what is our transition matrix? So our transition matrix is minus 1, 2 and 1 minus 3 by 2. So the coordinates of an arbitrary vector with respect to B are given by the product P into, so P into X. So we have seen that in the previous slide, we have seen that this is actually X is equal to, so X is equal to P into X dash, or coordinate matrix of V with respect to B, the first basis is equal to P. P is the transition matrix from B to B dash into coordinate matrix of V with respect to B. So here we have an advantage. The second basis is the standard basis. So to find the coordinate, to find the coordinate of a vector V with respect to the second basis, that is EI, is very simple because that is actually the coefficient. So you have to find the coordinates of AB. So you have to find the coordinates of AB with respect to our base, given basis B. So by that formula, this is actually P into coordinate matrix of AB with respect to the second basis. And what is our second basis? Second basis is the standard basis. So this is minus 1, 1, 2, minus 3 by 2 into AB. So in this, actually this gives a general formula. You take any AB in R2, you take any AB in R2. So its coordinate matrix with respect to B can be computed using this simple formula, minus 1, 1, 2, minus 3 by 2 into AB. So this is one advantage of transition matrix. So now we can see this transition matrix in two different ways. So a change of basis. So here we are discussing about two bases, and transition matrix is the matrix from B to B dash actually in a way. So a change of basis of a vector space can be viewed either as a change in the name for the vectors or as a transformation. So the first one is very clear. So for example, AB in the standard basis is actually our AB. So if you are taking another basis B, its coordinates will be different, some A dash B dash. Okay. So that is if you are taking our R2, so usually we are taking our x axis, the vectors in the direction of 1, 0 and 0, 1. Okay. So these are our usual coordinate axes or standard coordinate axes. Suppose in place, suppose you are taking two other vectors, suppose this is one vector and this is another vector. So then our new coordinates will be like this one, new coordinate system. So the vectors are renamed here, and that is what we have discussed here. So we now know how to compute the coordinates of each vector using this new coordinate system. So actually a change of basis can be viewed either as a change in the name for vectors. Secondly, it can also be viewed as a transformation. So the first view is straightforward. The second way to view a change of basis is as the linear transformation, which sends the old basis to the new basis. So this we can discuss a little bit. So you take B is equal to U1, U2, etc. UN, and B dash is equal to U1 dash, U2 dash, etc. UN dash. So there is a linear transformation from V to itself, which sends Ui to Ui dash for each I. So these are two bases actually. So in the study of linear transformation, you have seen that. So if T is a linear transformation from a finite dimensional vector space to another vector space. So here we are taking T from V to V. So this is U1, U2, etc. UN, and this is basis, and this is U1, U1 dash, etc. UN dash. Then a linear a linear transformation. So there are so many linear transformations from V to V. So one such linear transformation is you define T such that T of Ui is equal to Ui dash. Okay. So there is a linear. So if these are two bases for the same vector space V, so you consider the linear transformation which sends Ui to Ui dash for each A. So this map is defined by. So if the images of elements in basis are known, then you can find image of any element in V. So you take any element in V, you write it as a, since U1, U2, etc. UN is a basis for V, you write it as a linear combination of elements of U1, U2, etc. So this is T of, this is x1 U1 plus etc. plus xn UN. So since T is linear, it satisfies x1 Tu1 plus etc. plus xn Tu. And what is Tu1? Tu1 is U1 dash. So So therefore T sends T. So our T sends the vector. So this is an important point. So T sends the vector having the coordinates x1, x2, etc., xn with respect to B to the vector having the same coordinates with respect to B dash. So this is another application of transition matrix. So this can be used as a linear transform in the way of linear transformation. So these coordinates are related in this way. So T sends, so you can define another so you can define a linear transformation such that T of ui is equal to ui dash. So what is actually T? T sends the vector having coordinates x, etc., x with respect to B to the vector having the same coordinates with respect to B. So we can bring the two views of a change of basis together. So the first one is renaming the vectors. The second one is in the sense of a linear transform. So we can combine these. Suppose B is equal to u1, u2, etc., un, and B dash is equal to u1 dash, u2, etc., un dash, with P as the transition matrix from B to B dash, and T the linear transformation given by T of ui is equal to ui dash, then P is the matrix of T with respect to the basis B in both the domain and the codomain. So what is our transition matrix then? So then our transition matrix is actually the matrix of P. So the matrix of P with respect to B in so BB. So you know that how to. So I am not discussing matrix representation of a linear transformation. This all we know, I think. So you find matrix of T with respect to B. So how can you compute matrix of T with respect to B? And so you take B in the same as the same basis in both the domain and codomain. So why matrix of T is actually our transition matrix? So for example, if A, suppose, so the reason is given here. Suppose A is the matrix of T with respect to B. So you are considering, suppose the matrix of T with respect to B is A. Then what will be the jth column of A? Jth column of A is the coordinates of TUJ with respect to B. But what is TUJ? So the linear transformation is defined in this way. TUJ is equal to UJ. So what is matrix of TUJ with respect to B? So matrix of TUJ with respect to B is matrix of UJ dash with respect to B. And what is matrix of UJ dash with respect to B? So matrix of UJ dash with respect to B is the jth column of our transition matrix. So in the first slide we have seen that. So how we form the transition matrix? The first column is P1. Sorry. So the first column is P is equal, sorry. So the first column is P is equal to P1, P2, etc. Pn. P is P1, P2, etc. Pn. So the jth column of P is actually the coordinates of uj dash with respect to B. But the coordinates of uj dash with respect to B is actually the jth column of B, and that is also the jth column of A. So A is equal to P. So this shows that the transition matrix P is non-singular. So why this is non-singular? Because T is a non-singular linear transformation or invertible linear transformation because it sends a basis to a basis. So if T sends a basis to a basis and T is from B to V, and if T is from sends a basis to a basis, then that is clearly a 1-1 and 1-2 linear transformation. So T is non-singular. If the linear transformation is non-singular, its matrix, any matrix should be non-singular. So what we have seen is that the transition matrix is non-singular. So this we can state as a result. So if P is a transition matrix from B to B dash, then P is non-singular. And since P is non-singular, we know that X is equal to P into X dash. So since P is non-singular, this X dash is equal to P inverse into X. So the coordinates with respect to B dash are obtained from coordinates with respect to B upon multiplication by P inverse. So P inverse is actually the transition matrix from B dash to B. So if you know the transition matrix from B to B dash, its inverse is actually the transition matrix from B dash to B. So suppose dimension of V is equal to N, B is a basis for V, and S is equal to U1, U2, etc. Un. is a subset of V. So you take any subset of V. So what is given? Dimension of V is equal to n. That is, any basis should contain n elements. So you take a basis for V, and this is any subset of V. So let A be the n by n matrix. Let A be the n by n matrix containing the coordinates of uj. So containing the coordinates of uj with respect to B in its jth column. Then S is a basis for V if and only if A is non-singular. So this is actually a theorem, but this can be proved using our previous discussion. So this is an important result, because if you are given any subset of V containing n elements and you are given a basis, okay, how can you verify that these vectors constitute a basis for V? So you write, you take uj, you write its coordinate matrix and form a matrix such that uj, the matrix, coordinate matrix of uj dash with respect to B lies in the jth column. Then if that matrix is non-singular, then S is a basis for V. So now, so the transition matrix is actually for changing coordinate of a vector with respect to B to coordinate of the same vector with respect to B dash. And that is related by matrix of V with respect to B is equal to P into matrix of V with respect to B dash. And P is the corresponding transition matrix. Its jth column is the coordinate matrix of the jth element of B dash with respect to B. Now we can discuss this transition matrix in the case of a linear transformation. So let T be a linear transformation from V to W. Then each choice for basis for V and W yields a matrix for T. So you take a base. So suppose, assume that they are all finite dimensional. So you take a general vector spaces. V and W are vector spaces over R. So you take a basis for V, you take another basis for W. So we can determine how two such matrices are related. So suppose you are taking B and B dash. B is a basis for V and B dash is a basis for W. Then you will get one matrix. So suppose the dimension of V is n and the dimension of W is m. Corresponding to B and B dash, you will get an m by n matrix. Okay. So you will get an m by n matrix. Then, so here I am denoting this as B1. So you take a basis for B1 and another and a basis for W B2. You will get a matrix A for T, matrix of T with respect to B1 B2. You take another basis for V, let it be B1 dash, and another basis for W, let it be B2 dash. So you will get another matrix A dash. So naturally these two should be related. So why? Because they represent matrices of the same linear transformation. So how can we relate these two matrices? So that is an important concept leading to diagonalization. So let P be the transition matrix from the basis B1 to B1 dash. So you see that B1 and B1 dash are basis for V. So correspondingly, you will get a transition matrix from B1 to B1 dash. So that transition matrix is denoted by P. And let Q be the transition. So this is for W. So corresponding to V and for these two bases, you will get a transition matrix. We have another vector space W and two bases for W, B2 and B2 dash. So there also we will get a transition matrix. Let that transition matrix be Q. For U belongs to V, let X and X dash be the coordinates of U with respect to B1 and B1 dash respectively. So you take U belongs to V. We have two bases. So you will get two coordinate matrix for this U, and that they are with respect to B1 and B1 dash. Then you consider TU. That is an element, that is a vector in W. So let Y and Y dash be the coordinates of TU with respect to B2 and B2 dash, because this is in W, and for W we have two bases. So they are B1 dash, B2 and B2 dash. So correspondingly, you will get two coordinate matrix for this TU. So let y and y dash be the coordinate of TU with respect to B2 and B2. Then these coordinates are related as follows. So we have seen that these coordinates are related using this formula. X is equal to P into X dash. Okay, this X is equal to P into X dash. Y is equal to Q into Y dash. And Y is equal to AX. So why this Y is equal to AX? Because matrix of T is actually A. So matrix of T with respect to B1 and B2 is actually A. So this Y is equal to matrix of T with respect to X. So matrix of T with respect to, so here B1. So A is the matrix of T with respect to B1 and B2. And A dash is the matrix of T with respect to B1 dash and B2 dash. So what is Y? So Y is actually the coordinates of Y be the coordinate of TU with respect to B2. Okay, Y is the coordinate of TU with respect to B2. So using linear transformations, you can write that is coordinate of, so this Y is AX is actually coordinate of TU with respect to B1 and B1 dash actually. B1 dash is equal to matrix of T with respect to B1 dash into matrix of U with respect to B1. And matrix of U with respect to B1 is X. Matrix of T with respect to B and B dash is T. And matrix of TU is Y. So matrix of TU with respect to B1 dash is. So that is Y is equal to X. Similarly, Y dash is equal to A dash X dash. Thus, QY dash. So this QY dash is equal to Y, which is equal to AX, which is equal to A into BX dash. So from this you will get A dash is actually Q inverse into AP. So what is A dash and A? A dash and A represents the same linear transformation with respect to two different pairs of choices of bases. So A dash is equal to Q inverse into AP. So P is actually the transition matrix from B1 to B1 dash, and Q is the transition matrix from B2 to B2 dash. B2. Yes, B2 to B2 dash. So this we can write it as a theorem. So this is how they are related. So let A and A dash are matrices of some linear map from B to W. If and only if there exist non-singular matrices P and Q such that A dash is equal to Q inverse into AP. So this is an important result. So the matrix relation A dash is equal to Q inverse AP expresses the relationship between two matrices for a map. So this relation would reveal properties shared by all possible matrices for a given group. Okay. So if such an example, so if A and A dash are two matrices corresponding to the same linear transformation, then they are related in this way. Okay. So this relation would reveal properties shared by all possible matrices for a given map. Okay. Suppose you take another matrices, so some B1 and B1 dash, and suppose they are also matrices corresponding to the same linear transformation, then there is a relation like this. So this leads to the following definition. So this two n by m matrices A and B are equivalent. So this is an important concept. So two matrices are said to be equivalent if there exist non-singular matrices P and Q such that B is equal to QA. So why we have avoided this inverse here? Because we are considering all n by m matrices. Okay, and Q is any non-singular matrix actually. So in place of Q inverse, you can write the general form Q. So because we are considering all non-singular matrices, so why in this? So that is why in this definition, in place of Q inverse, Q comes. So two n by m matrices A and B are equivalent if there exists non-singular matrices P and Q such that B is equal to Q into AP. So in the study of row reduced echelon form and so we know so what are the row transformations and the column transformation. So there we have defined another way, equivalent matrices. So how we define there two matrices are equivalent? Two matrices there we have defined to be equivalent if one could be obtained from the other using elementary row and column operation, not just elementary row transformations only, but we have to apply elementary row transformation and column transformation together. So if two matrices are equivalent, then so there we have defined in this way, two matrices are equivalent if one could be obtained from the other using elementary row and column transformations. And actually these two definitions are the same. Example, so we can see your discussion using an example. So show that the 3 by 3 matrix A is equal to 3 1 0 0 minus 2 4 1 0 3 is equivalent to the identity matrix I3. So how can we show that this is equivalent to the identity matrix? So this is not using elementary row and column transformations that we can do. So that is what we have discussed as the second case, but that we already, so for studying linear algebra through linear transformation, so this matrix is equivalent to I3 means we can find, so this is supposed to be from R3 to R3. So how can we prove that this is equivalent to I3? You find a basis for R3 in the domain and the codomain. You write matrix of T with respect to B and B dot and show that the same linear transformation can be represented using I3. I3 means the identity matrix of order 3. So you write this linear transformation in two different ways, using two different matrices. So what is the method here? So consider T belongs to L R3 R3. So linear transformation from R3 to R3. You take a linear transformation from R3 to R3, which has A as its matrix with respect to the standard basis in both the domain and codomain. Domain and codomain, you take in both the domain and the codomain, you take the standard basis. So then, so what is T of X? So X in an element in R3 can be represented using ABC because that is actually its representation using the standard basis. So T of ABC is equal to, what is that? 3 1 0 0 2 minus 4 1 0 3 into ABC. Okay. So we will get T of ABC is equal to 3A plus B 4C minus 2B A plus 3C. So since determinant of A, so you can see that determinant of A not equal to 0. So this is non-singular. So you find the images of the standard basis. So what we have in the, so as the first case, we take the standard basis here. So that EI. So EI is the standard. So you are taking EI both in the domain and the codomain. Then if you represent TABC is equal to, so suppose you consider this linear transformation, TABC is equal to 3A plus B, 4C minus 2B, A plus 3C. Its matrix with respect to the standard basis is actually our given matrix. You can see, because what is T of 1, 0, 0? It is 3, 0 and 1. That is in first column. T of 0, 1, 0 is 1 minus 2, 0, and that is the second column. So this is actually, so this matrix is represented using a linear transformation, and this matrix is actually the matrix of T with respect to the standard basis in both the domain and the codomain. So since determinant of A not equal to 0, T is non-singular, so the corresponding images of the standard basis T of 1 0 0, T of 0 1 0, T of 0 0 1 will be a new basis for R3 because this is from R3 to R3, and T of 1 0 0 is actually 3 0 1, 1 minus 2 0, 0 4 3. So B is a basis for R3. Why? Because T is non-singular. Now the matrix, or you find the matrix of T, the same T, with respect to the standard basis in the domain and B in the codomain. So this T is from R3 to R3. Now we have So firstly, we have represented T using the standard basis in both domain and codomain, EA in both the domain and codomain, you will get EA. Okay, we have to prove that this A is equivalent to identity matrix of order 3. So we have to find another set of bases, another pair of bases, such that matrix of T with respect to these pair of bases is equal to I3, identity matrix of order 3. So for that, you take the matrix of T with respect to the standard basis in the domain. So you take EA in the domain as the first basis, and in the codomain you take B, our new basis. So now the matrix of T with respect to the standard basis B in the domain and B in the codomain is I3. So why the matrix of T is I3? Because what is T of 100? T of 100 is defined to be 301. So how can we represent matrix of T with respect to EA and B? You find you take T of 100. Its vector is coordinate vector is actually 100 since it is the standard basis. T of 100 is actually 301. So we have to represent 301. You find the coordinate matrix of 301 with respect to this basis B. So you have to write 301 as a linear combination of 301, 1 minus 20, and 0 for 3. So what are the coefficients then? This is equal to 1 into 300 plus 0 into 1 minus 20 plus 0 into 0 for 3. So this is the first column is 1 0 0. Similarly, the second column is 0 1 0. The third column will be 0 0 1. So the matrix of T with respect to the standard base in the domain and B in the codomain is I3. So A is equivalent to I3. So from this actually we can obtain a general result here. So what will be that general result? If you take any non-singular matrix, so for example, for simplicity, you take any non-singular 3 by 3 matrix. Non-singular. So A is a non-singular 3 by 3 matrix. So what is the result we have discussed actually? Any non-singular matrix is equivalent to identity matrix of order 3. So what is the method? So you take the first, you form the linear transformation with the standard basis, then you will get a linear transformation whose matrix with respect to the standard basis is A. Then you find its images. So since this is non-singular, A is non-singular, determinant of A not equal to 0, so the corresponding linear transformation will be non-singular. So T of 100 and T of 010, T of 001 will form another basis for R3, and that basis, you take that basis as the second one and the standard basis as the first one, you will get the identity matrix for that for the same linear transformation with respect to this new basis. So that is why in elementary row transformations and column transformation, any non-singular matrix A, for example, suppose we are taking any non-singular matrix A, by applying a sequence of elementary row and column transformation, that can be reduced to the identity matrix of order 3. So this is actually equivalent. So the first case we have discussed is equivalence. So what is when we say that two matrices are equivalent, you take a linear transformation from B to W of dimension n and dimension m, then an m by n matrix A is equivalent to another matrix B if they represent the same matrix of T with respect to different bases. Next, we are considering a particular subcase of equivalence, the relation equivalence, and that is similarity. Equivalence of matrices is obtained by considering a general transformation and arbitrary choice of bases. So what is the meaning of this? So equivalence of matrices is obtained by considering a general transformation and arbitrary choice of basis. Why? Because we are considering T from B to W. You are taking T from B to W. you take B, you take B dash. So these are different bases, and V and W are also different. So equivalence of matrix is obtained by considering a general transformation and arbitrary choice of bases. So consider the special case of a map from a vector space to itself if the matrices are obtained using the same basis. Consider the special case of a map from a vector space to itself if the matrices are obtained using the same basis in both the domain and codomain. So similarity is so the basic difference between equivalence and similarity for discussion. So we have to see that for discussing similarity, T should be from V to V, and the same basis is taken in both the domain and codomain. So that is the special case of a map from a vector space to itself if the matrices are obtained using the same basis in both the domain and codomain. Suppose T belongs to LV. LV means linear transformation from V to V. So we call it a linear operator. Suppose T belongs to LV, has the matrix A with respect to the basis B and the matrix A dash with respect to B dash. Okay. So matrix of T with respect to B means B in both the domain and the codomain. So its matrix is A, the corresponding matrix is A. You take another basis B dash. You take B dash in the domain and the codomain. Matrix of T with respect to B dash and B dash. That is A dash. A dash with respect. Let P be the transition matrix from B to B dash. Because so we can discuss about transition matrices. Why? Because we are considering only one vector spaces and two bases for V, B and B dash. So naturally we can define a transition matrix from B to B dash. Let P be the transition matrix from B to B dash. Then with the same change of basis in both the domain and the codomain, we get A dash is equal to, so in the previous discussion we have seen that A dash is equal to Q inverse AP. But here we have using the same transition matrix P. So this becomes A dash is equal to P inverse into AP. Okay. So A dash is equal to P. So this leads to the following definition. Two n by n matrices A and B are similar if there exists non-singular matrix, if there exists a non-singular matrix P such that B is equal to P inverse AP. So what is the meaning of this definition when we consider linear transformation? So that is why I think this is in the following theorem. Okay, yes. So this is the theorem. Two n by n matrices are similar if and only if they are matrices of some linear transformation from a vector space to itself using the same basis in the domain and codomain. So you take two matrices. When we say that they are similar, we know that the definition is actually this one. If there is a matrix P, invertible matrix P such that B is equal to P inverse AP, but from the study of equivalence of matrices, we have seen that this leads to the following result. If they are matrices of the same linear matrices of some linear transformation from a vector space to itself using the same basis in the domain and codomain. So that is, so you have two matrices A and B. So they are from square matrices actually, n by n. So when we say that, so they are similar, so you consider T from, so there is a linear transformation T from V to V, and suppose there is a basis B such that matrix of T with respect to B is equal to A, and another basis B dash such that matrix of T with respect to B dash is equal to B. So two n by n matrices are similar if they are matrices of the same linear transformation from a vector space to itself using the same basis in the domain and codomain. So similarity is a special case of the relation equivalence. Why? Equivalence relation is actually the more general one. So an m by n matrix A is equivalent to another m by n matrix if B is equal to Q inverse AP. Okay. So here for equivalent similar matrices, this M and N are equal, and we are taking P as Q. So similarity is a special case of the relation equivalence. However, equivalent matrices need not be similar. So that is a very important concept. Equivalent matrices need not be similar, not just because they are not of equal dimension, even though the dimensions are equal. So in our example, so A and I3, so the previous example we have seen, two matrices we have seen that in the just 2 slides before, you have taken a matrix A and we have shown that that is a non-singular matrix. Any non-singular matrix is actually equivalent to I3, but A and I3 are not similar. Why? So if they are similar, there is a matrix P such that P inverse AP is equal to I3. But you take any invertible matrix P, you will get P inverse into I3 into P, which is equal to P, because this is the identity matrix. P inverse P inverse, this is I, and that is not equal to A. So equivalent matrices need not be similar matrices. So to study diagonalization, so in the introduction I have said that, so why we are forced to study diagonalizability of linear transformation. So we have to represent a linear transformation in a nice, simple manner. So the last discussion reveals that we can represent the same linear transformation in a number of ways. And the only similarity is that if you are taking a linear transformation from V to V, then this these representation, matrix representation of linear transformation are related in such a way that the resulting matrices are similar. So we are searching for a matrix, a very simple matrix. So is that possible? So that is a study of diagonalizability. So for that we have to review about equivalence relation. This all we know, I think. A relation is defined on a set is said to be an equivalence relation on S if for all A, B belongs to S, A is related to A, that is reflexivity. A is related to B, then B is related to A symmetry. A related to B and B related to C, then A related to C. This is transitivity. So what are the specialty of equivalence relation? So equivalence relation partitions the set into mutually disjoint equivalence classes. So the partition is like that S is partitioned into equivalence class, and every element of each element of S belongs to exactly one of the equivalence class, that we all know. So for example, similarity is an equivalence relation on the set of all n by n matrices. So this we can verify. So how can we verify that similarity is an equivalence relation? So first, reflexivity is very obvious because A is related to A. So how A is related to A? A is equal to, suppose A is an n by n matrix, then A is equal to In inverse identity matrix of order n into A into In. So this is reflexive. Similarly, you can prove that this is symmetric and transitive. So similarity is an equivalence relation on the set of all n by n matrix. Now the next question is, so whether the relation equivalence is an equivalence relation. So when we say that two matrices, so there we are taking, so here for similarity is an equivalence relation on the set of all n by n matrices. So here our S is, so for discussing similarity our S is the collection of all n by n matrices. For discussing equivalence, the relation equivalence, our S is the collection of all m by n matrices. Here this is n by n matrices and this is m by n matrices. So we can see that the relation equivalence is also an equivalence relation. Similarly, similarity is also an equivalence relation, but the corresponding sets are different. Here the collection of all n by n matrices, and here the collection of all, here the collection of all n by n and m by n. So equivalence relation identifies elements that share certain properties. So that is the importance of equivalence relation. Equivalence relation identifies elements that share certain properties. For similarity, the collection of all matrices similar to a given matrix would contain all possible matrices for some linear map using the same basis in the domain and codomain. Such a collection of equivalent elements is called an equivalence class. For example, if you are taking the relation as similarity and you are taking an element A in S, so S is our n by n matrices, collection of all n by n matrices. Then what is the equivalence class containing A? Equivalence class containing A, the collection of all matrices similar to A, which is the matrix representation of a linear transformation from B to B, where the basis B is taken in the domain and codomain. So this is the definition of equivalence class, this we know. So matrix of A is collection of all B belongs to S, that A is real. So for similarity, this is actually set collection of all n by n matrices that represent the same linear transformation with respect to a basis. That basis is taken in the domain and codomain. Now the question is, for equivalence relation actually, so that we will discuss later. And there is another equivalence relation in vector spaces. You take the set of the collection S, let S be the collection of all finite dimensional vector spaces. Let S be the collection of all finite dimensional vectors. So S is collection of all finite dimensional vector spaces, that is dimension of 1, 2, 3, etc. anything, any finite dimensional vector space, that will be yes. So you define a relation isomorphism. So we know that when two vector spaces are isomorphic, so if there exists a 1, 1 onto linear transformation from V to W, so we can see that this is an equivalence relation on the collection of all finite dimensional vector spaces. If you take a finite dimensional vector space, so you take V belongs to S, it is a finite dimensional vector space. Suppose its dimension is n. Suppose the dimension of V is equal to n. Suppose the dimension of V is equal to n. So the question is, what is the equivalence class containing this vector space? V is a vector space. This is not a vector actually. This I am denoting this as a vector space that belongs to S of dimension n. This is not coordinate matrix. This is actually the equivalence class of this vector space of dimension n. We can see that this is actually this class contains obviously one element. What is that element? So the collection of, so actually Rn. So suppose the corresponding field is R. In this equivalence class, the vector space Rn is there, or the collection of n tuples A1, A2, etc. An. Okay. Because we know that any finite dimensional vector space of dimension n over R is isomorphic to Rn. So even though there are so many elements in this equivalence class containing containing all n-dimensional vector spaces, we can choose one vector space which is the most simple one, and that is Rn. So the canonical representation of this collection of n-dimensional vector space defined under the relation isomorphism. So the choice is actually the simple one. So we are choosing or naming an equivalence class using a particular one, and that is Rn actually. So this is what we are going to extend in the study of matrices also. So for example, what is the equivalence class of 2, 1, 3, 5 for the equivalence relation of similarity? So we know what is meant by the equivalence relation defined by similarity. You find all elements belongs to the equivalence class of 2, 1, 3, 5. So this can be answered in two different ways. Number one, so 2, 1, 3, 5 is actually set of all similar matrices which are similar to 2, 1, 3, 5. So P inverse 2, 1, 3, 5 into P, where P is equal to M 2 by 2 and P is non-singular. This is one way. Number 2, using linear transformation. So T of AB, so you write this matrix as the matrix of a linear transformation with respect to the standard basis. So T of AB is 2A plus 3B and 3A plus 5B. So matrix of T with respect to the standard basis, it is very clear, it is 2, 1, 3, 5. So what is equivalence class containing 2, 1, 3, 5? The collection of all 2 by 2 matrices such that A is the matrix of T. So this T. A is the matrix of T with respect to some basis for R2. So the equivalence class of this 2 by 2 matrix contains a lot of 2 by 2 matrices. And our question is, which one can be chosen so that we can represent this equivalence class in a simple way? So in the previous problem, I have mentioned that even though there are infinite number of n-dimensional vector spaces over R, they are all represented using Rn. So this is actually the canonical representation. So here also the same question arises. What is the canonical representation or the symbol representation so that this equivalence class can be named using a particular matrix? So an equivalence relation defined on a set S divides, so this we have discussed actually, an equivalence relation defined on a set S divides S into a collection of equivalence classes in such a way that each element of S is in one and only one of the classes. Although every element in an equivalence class represents that class, it is often possible to pick a best or simplest representative. That is the fundamental thing. Okay. So even though there are so many elements in that equivalence class containing a particular element, we have to pick a best or simple representative. When one special element is chosen to represent each equivalence class in S, then the choices are called canonical forms for the elements of S. So such choices are called the canonical forms. So that is why the study of linear algebra, we have seen that Jordan form, diagonal form, canonical form, rational form. So many canonical forms are there. So the canonical forms for the elements of S are important here because we are choosing a simplest one, so that all the properties of that linear transformation can be deduced much easily. So if A belongs to S, the canonical form in the class A is called the canonical form for A. For example, so the first case I have already discussed, if you are taking the equivalence relation as the collection of all finite dimensional vector spaces, there we have seen using only one criteria, we can represent equivalence classes, and that simple one criterion is actually dimension. So if the dimension is n, that equivalence class is actually named by Rn, or if you are taking the general field F, that is taken by Fn. Suppose S is equal to set of all finite dimensional vector spaces under isomorphism. This defines an equivalence relation. The n-tuple space represents for n-dimensional vector space is actually the canonical representation. The second thing, we have seen that the relation equivalence is also an equivalence relation. So that equivalence relation, that is, there are two equivalences here. This equivalence is actually, so two matrices, n by n matrices are equivalent if B is equal to, say, Q inverse AP. So this is equivalence. So then we say that B is equivalent to A, or A is equivalent to B. So this relation equivalence for n by n matrix. So what is the canonical representation? So we have seen that we already know that if A is an n by m matrix of rank K, so if A is an n by m matrix of rank K, then A is equivalent to the n by m matrix with only K non-zero entries appearing once on the main diagonal. ഇതാണ് നമ്മൾ ശരിക്കും നമ്മളുടെ സബ്സിഡറി കോംപ്ലിമെന്ററി ക്ലാസ്സുകളിലൊക്കെ നമ്മൾ ഒരു n by m മെട്രിക്സ് തൊട്ട് റാങ്ക് കണ്ടുപിടിക്കാനായിട്ടുള്ള പ്രോബ്ലം കൊടുക്കുമ്പോൾ, സോ ആക്ച്വലി വി ആർ സെർച്ചിങ് ഫോർ ദി കാനോണിക്കൽ റെപ്രസെന്റേഷൻ ഓഫ് ദാറ്റ് മെട്രിക്സ്. So we have in our discussions, in our college level discussions, we clearly know that every n by m matrix of rank k. So if A is an n by m matrix of rank k, you applying a sequence of elementary row and column transformation, that matrix can be reduced to this form. Okay. That matrix can be reduced to this form. So the relation equivalence is also same as in terms of linear transformation. We can say that equivalence is actually you are classifying n by m matrices so that B is equal to P inverse AP, or in terms of elementary transformation, you apply a sequence of elementary row and row transformation. The resulting matrices obtained are also equivalent matrices for the first matrix. So there we have an important result. If A is an n by n matrix of rank k, that matrix is actually equivalent to this symbol matrix IK0, 0. So these zeros are blocks of zero matrices. So denote the matrix IK0. So this is actually, so if A is an m by n matrix, so here I am taking n by n. So if A is an n by m matrix of rank k, any n by m matrix of rank k, so they are all equivalent, and the canonical representation, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ നമുക്ക് ആ ഒരു equivalence ക്ലാസ്സിന് പേര് കൊടുക്കാൻ പറ്റുന്ന ഏറ്റവും സിമ്പിൾ ആയിട്ടുള്ള മെട്രിക്സ് എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്, that matrix is actually IK0, 0, 0. And this is unique also because this relation P inverse AP is equal to B. So if B is equal to Q inverse AP, then a rank of B is equal to rank of A, that we know. So all such matrices are equivalent to IK0, 0, 0. So this is actually the canonical representation for this one. So this shows that equivalence class of matrices under equivalence contains a matrix of the form IK0, 0, 0. So in terms of linear maps, this shows that given any map T, there is some choice of basis for which, so this is plural actually. So in B we have one basis, in W we have another basis. So in terms of linear maps, this shows that given any map T from B to W, there is some choice of basis B, B dash, for which the matrix of T has the form IK0, 0, 0, where K is the rank of T. So we have discussed the two examples. The first one is the relation isomorphism. There one invariance is required, and what is that invariance? A rank. Using dimension only, we can classify the equivalence classes, and in the relation equivalence, using rank only, we can classify equivalence classes. So the selection of matrices of the form IK0, 0, 0 for canonical forms under equivalence reflects the fact that two n by m matrices are equivalent if and only if they have the same rank. So the selection of matrices, so this is actually the canonical representation or canonical form or canonical element, anything we can say. The selection of matrices of the form IK0, 0, 0 for canonical forms under equivalence reflects the fact that two n by m matrices are equivalent if and only if they have the same rank. That is, the rank of a matrix is not affected by equivalence, and this single property can be used to determine if one n by m matrix is equivalent to another. So using just rank only, we can characterize other elements in that equivalence class, and that is represented by the symbol form IK0, 0, 0. So this gives the following definition. Suppose this is an equivalence relation on S. So this is an equivalence relation on S. A property is invariant provided that when A belongs to S satisfies the property and A is equivalent to B, then B also satisfies the property. For example, rank of a particular matrix completely determines which equivalence class it belongs in. So here the equivalence relation is equivalence of n by m matrices. Dimension plays a similar role for the equivalence relation on finite dimensional vector spaces. So if you are taken so rank of a particular matrix completely determines which equivalence class it belongs. Dimension plays a similar role for the equivalence relation defined on finite dimensional vector space. And these are actually, for these two examples, we got complete set of invariants. So using, so for the first case, there is only one the complete set of invariants contains only one element, and that is rank. Here the complete set of invariants contains only one element, that is dimension. Often more than one invariant must be checked to determine if two elements are equivalent in the general equivalence class. So now we are going to discuss our relation similarity. So similarity is actually the study of linear operators from V to V on finite dimensional vector spaces. Okay. So two invariants are easily obtained for similarity. First, so what are the, so ഇവിടെ നമ്മൾ ആദ്യത്തെ രണ്ട് കേസിൽ ഓരോ ഇൻവേരിയൻസ് മാത്രമേ കിട്ടിയിട്ടുള്ളൂ, and they completely determine the collection of all invariant elements. So for similarity we got two invariants. So what are they? The first one is rank, because similar matrices are also equivalent, because in equivalence the B and A are same here, P inverse AP. So since similar matrices are equivalent, a rank is invariant under similarity. A second invariant is given by the determinant. So for similar matrix, more than one invariant is required. The first one is rank, and the second one is determinant. Why similar matrices have the same determinant? We know that if B is equal to P inverse AP, then determinant of B is equal to determinant. So if A and B are similar matrices, then determinant of A is equal to determinant of B. അപ്പോൾ നമുക്ക് തോന്നും റാങ്കും ഡിറ്റർമിനന്റും കംപ്ലീറ്റ് ആയിട്ട് ചേർന്ന് കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ സിമിലാരിറ്റിയെ ക്യാരക്ടറൈസ് ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റുമോ? പറ്റില്ല എന്നുള്ളത് നമുക്ക് അടുത്ത എക്സാമ്പിളിൽ കൂടെ മനസ്സിലാകും. So these two invariants are not sufficient to completely characterize the collection of all the total invariants of equivalence relation similarity. So rank and determinant do not constitute a complete set of invariants for matrices under similarity. For example, you consider 1 0 0 1 and 0 1 minus 1 0. So these two matrices, so this matrix is of rank 2, this matrix is of rank 2, and this matrix is of determinant 1, and determinant of this matrix is also 1. Are they similar? No. Why? Because for any non-singular matrix P inverse, this is I2 actually, identity matrix of order 2, P inverse I2P is equal to I2, and that is not equal to this matrix. അപ്പോൾ നമുക്കൊരു കാര്യം മനസ്സിലായി, റാങ്കും ഡിറ്റർമിനന്റും സിമിലാരിറ്റിയുടെ ഇൻവേരിയൻസ് ആണെങ്കിൽ പോലും അത് രണ്ടും മാത്രം ഉപയോഗിച്ച് നമുക്കൊരു കാനോനിക്കൽ റെപ്രസെന്റേഷൻ എഴുതാനായിട്ട് പറ്റില്ല. എന്നാൽ ചില മെട്രിസസിന് നമുക്കാണെങ്കിൽ കുറച്ചുകൂടി സിമ്പിൾ ആയിട്ട്, അപ്പൊ സിമിലാരിറ്റിയെ നമുക്ക് പൂർണ്ണമായിട്ട് ക്യാരക്ടറൈസ് ചെയ്യാനായിട്ട് ബുദ്ധിമുട്ടാണ്, പറ്റില്ല എന്നുള്ളതല്ല, ഇറ്റ് ഈസ് ഡിഫിക്കൽട്ട്. So before characterizing similarity or determining the complete set of invariants, we are discussing about diagonalization. So with the result of equivalence in mind, one might hope that every n by n matrix is similar to a matrix with all entries of the main diagonal equal to 0. So we have seen that for the relation equivalence, any matrix or equivalence class are represented by these type of matrices. So what is the specialty of these type of matrices? One in some main diagonal elements, and all other entries are 0. All the off diagonal elements are 0. So we may hope that every n by n matrix is similar to a matrix with all entries of the main diagonal equal to 0. Or posing in another way, so can we represent equivalence class under similarity, or name an equivalence class in the relation similarity using a matrix of this form, or whether there exists a canonical matrix of this form where the off diagonal entries are 0. But this is not always true. There are many situations in which matrices under consideration are similar to such matrices, but it is not generally true. But there are many situations in which matrices under consideration are similar to such matrices, and such matrices are called actually diagonal matrices. So an n by n matrix A is equal to Aij is a diagonal matrix if and only if Aij is equal to 0 for I not equal to j. An n by n matrix is diagonalizable if it is similar to a diagonal matrix. So if it is similar to a diagonal matrix. So when we say that a matrix is diagonalizable, it is similar to a diagonal matrix. So if the diagonal matrix is lambda 1, lambda n, and all the other entries are 0, we represent this matrix as diagonal lambda 1, lambda 2, etc. lambda n. So not every n by n matrix is similar to a diagonal matrix. So similarity is actually the, or diagonalizability is not sufficient, or all matrices or 2 by 2 matrices are not enough to classify diagonal to n by n matrix. For example, so consider the matrix 0, 0, 1, 0. So the matrix is similar to, so the question is whether it is diagonalizable. So whether there exists a matrix which is similar to this matrix. So this one. So the matrix is similar to matrices of the form. So if suppose this is diagonalizable. So what are the matrices? So what matrices are similar to this matrix? These matrices. So AB CD inverse into 0, 0, 1, 0 into ABCD. So P inverse AP. So this becomes 1 by AD minus BC. So if you compute, you will get minus AB minus B square, A square, A square AB. So if this is a diagonal matrix, so we have to check whether when this matrix becomes a diagonal matrix. Okay. So this is a diagonal matrix if A square and B square is equal to 0. Obvious condition of diagonal elements should be 0. So A square and B square should be 0. A square and B square is equal to 0 implies A and B are 0. So AD minus BC is equal to 0. But we are considering invertible matrices only. So 1 by, so because A, B, C, D is an invertible matrix. So 1, 0, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, sorry, 0, 0, 1, 0 is not similar to a diagonal matrix. So this is actually, in Jordan form, in future we can see that this is actually a matrix which is not diagonalized on an elementary Jordan form is obtained from this matrix. Actually. So when an n by n matrix A is similar to the diagonal matrix D, which is equal to diagonal lambda 1, lambda 2, etc. lambda n. Consider the map. So the question is, when an n by n matrix A is similar to the diagonal matrix lambda 1, lambda 2, etc. lambda n. Consider the map T from the question is, when an n by n matrix A is similar to the diagonal matrix D is equal to diagonal lambda 1, lambda 2, etc. lambda n. Consider the map T from Vn to Vn, so n-dimensional vector space to another n-dimensional vector, having matrix A with respect to some basis B. So the question is when this linear map is diagonalizable. So having a matrix A with respect to some basis B, and the question is whether there exists another basis B dash, so that the matrix of T with respect to that basis is a diagonal matrix. So then the transition matrix P from B to B dash. So then the transition matrix from B to B dash satisfies. So we have seen that if T is from B to V and B to V n-dimensional vector space, so they are represented by B and B dash, then they are connected by this relation P inverse AP. Suppose there exists a matrix D, then P inverse AP should be equal to D. So you take B dash. The question is whether we can find a B dash such that P inverse AP is equal to D, a diagonal matrix. So you take B dash is equal to U1 dash, U2 dash, etc. UN dash. Then T U1 dash is equal to lambda 1 U1 dash. Why? Because matrix of T with respect to B dash is a diagonal matrix, and U1 dash is the first element. So TU dash is equal to that diagonal matrix into U1 dash. Its first entry is lambda 1. So you multiply those two matrices, you can see that TU1 dash is equal to lambda 1 U1 dash. TU2 dash is equal to lambda 2 U2 dash. etc. T un dash is equal to lambda n un dash. So if P inverse AP is equal to D and matrix of T with respect to B dash is D, then where D is equal to diagonal of lambda 1, lambda 2, etc. lambda n. So D is actually this matrix lambda 1, lambda 2, etc. lambda n. Then T u1 dash is equal to this one. So if the equations T uj dash is equal to lambda uj dash are written using the matrix A, they becomes, so the matrix of T with respect to the first basis B is A actually. So what is T uj? A into matrix of uj dash with respect to B. And matrix of uj dash with respect to B is the first column of our transition matrix. So A P1 is equal to lambda 1 into P1. The lambda j are scalars. So lambda 1 into matrix of uj dash with respect to B, and that is P1. Similarly, A Pn is equal to lambda and Pn, where P1, P2, etc. Pn are the coordinates of u1 dash, u2 dash, etc. un dash with respect to P. So this relation APJ is equal to lambda j Pj between A and the so if there is a diagonal matrix which is similar to A, we obtain this relation APJ is equal to lambda j Pj. And what is Pj? The jth column of the transition matrix from D to D, B to B dash. APJ is equal to lambda j Pj between A, the columns of P, the diagonal entries of D, gives a necessary and sufficient condition for n by n matrix to be diagonalizable. So this we can state as a theorem. An n by n matrix A is diagonalizable if and only if there exist n linearly independent column vectors P1, P2, because why they are linearly independent? Because the transition matrix is known P1, P2, etc. Pn such that A P1 lambda 1 Pn, etc. A Pn is equal to lambda n Pn for some scalars lambda 1, lambda 2, etc. lambda n. Further, if P is the n by n matrix with the Pj as the jth column, so the similarity relation is also obtained. P inverse AP is actually the matrix which is actually the diagonal of lambda 1, lambda 2, etc. lambda n, and that is our D. So this leads to the definition of eigenvectors. Suppose A is an n by n matrix and V is a non-zero column vector such that AV is equal to lambda V for some scalars lambda, then lambda is a characteristic value of A corresponding to lambda. So for discussing diagonalization, this is very natural. So if A is similar to a diagonal matrix, we have seen that APJ should be equal to some lambda j Pj. So this leads to the definition. A non-zero vector V is called a characteristic vector corresponding to the characteristic value lambda if A V is equal to lambda V. And we know that to solve this, to find this characteristic values, we have to solve this equation, determinant of A minus lambda I is equal to 0, and this leads to the characteristic equation. So we know that, so this leads to the characteristic equation. So if A is an n-dimensional vector space, characteristic equation is actually a polynomial of degree n. There we will get coefficients, some n coefficients. Okay. These n coefficients, we know that one of these coefficients, so if you omit this sign, one of these coefficient is determinant, the other one is trace. Okay. And apart from these, there are also other n minus 2 coefficients for this characteristic polynomial. These are all invariants corresponding to the relation similarity. So how many invariants we have obtained? One invariant is already there, and that is rank. In addition to that, we have n more invariants, and they are the coefficients of this characteristic polynomial. Okay. And we know that if the characteristic vectors corresponding to different characteristic values are linearly independent, so if A is an, so if T is from V to V is of dimension n, and if we got n linearly independent eigenvectors, then we can see that A is diagonal. This all follows from this definition only. So our discussion only. So the definition of eigenvalues will give rise to the definition A matrix A or a linear map T from Vn to V to V of dimension n over R is diagonalizable if and only if A has n linearly independent eigenvectors. So A has n linearly independent eigenvectors. And if we have n different eigenvalues, clearly that matrix is diagonalizable. Even though there are there is no even though there does not exist n distinct eigenvalues, these eigenvectors can span, if the eigenvector spans the whole vector space, then we will get n linearly independent columns in the previous matrix. Then also the matrix is diagonalizable. And we have seen that similarity, only some matrices of these, only these type of diagonal matrices, we will get the canonical form have off diagonal entry 0. The others are actually rational forms actually. So to determine the complete set of invariants of similarity, we need some more study. Then they are actually T invariant subspaces, invariant subspaces. There we will get minimal polynomial characters all like that, and there we will get some primary divisors, and these primary divisors together with all these factors determine the complete set of invariants for the equivalence relation similarity. എൻ്റെ സമയം കഴിഞ്ഞതുകൊണ്ട് ഞാനിവിടെ സ്റ്റോപ്പ് ചെയ്യുകയാണ്. നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ഇനിയും രാംകുമാർ സാറ് എന്താണെന്ന് ഡിസ്കസ് ചെയ്യും. താങ്ക് യു വെരി മച്ച്.
If you have any questions, you can put in chat box.
A great discussion on the diagonalization of linear transformation. Heartiest thanks to Dr. Reggie T. who gave us an immense insight into the topic through his knowledge and skills. It has been a pleasure hosting you at Rajagiri School of Engineering and Technology. Once again, from all of us, we wish you the very best and many lots of thanks for this wonderful session. Thank you, sir. Participants, please note that tomorrow's session will start at 10 a.m. Please join before 9:45 a.m. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Professor Reggie.
Thank you, Vinod sir.
വീട്ടിലാണോ?
കോളേജിലാ.
ഓ, കോളേജിലാ. ശരി, കാണാം.
ഓക്കെ. അപ്പൊ ലീവ് ചെയ്യാമല്ലോ ഇല്ല സാറേ?
Sir.
Leave it, sir.
Reggie, sir.
Yes.
We will